been feeling really tired the last several days, which is why I haven't recorded. I feel like I've needed to record, but just sheer exhaustion or fatigue. I'm feeling it now as well. I was kind of almost falling asleep in my chair, even though I've been out most of the morning and doing lots of walking today. So it's something, maybe a symptom to keep an eye on, this tiredness that's been perhaps the last several days, although it's been a difficult week since I last recorded. I'm actually waiting to hear back from a private psychiatrist. I managed to take the step to reach out to certain places, and today's Friday. I contacted them last weekend, and they got back to me Tuesday to say, they could offer a general kind of assessment, and I replied that same hour actually to say I would like to go ahead with that, but I haven't heard anything back since. So it's a bit stressful waiting. Just a little bit of a wait to kind of a different type of weight, a heavy weight, sort of kind of with that outstanding. If I don't hear from them, perhaps the start of the week, maybe I can follow up. Maybe that's reasonable to wait about a week if you haven't heard back. I don't know. So I can't remember what I was some of the things I talked about in the last vlog, so how much to kind of share. I'm not repeating myself, but that's been fairly recent psychiatrist stuff, and I managed to see my doctor on Tuesday. I went in with the notes, doctor's notes that I typed up and printed out, and for the most part I think it helped a lot just to kind of steer and shape the appointment to kind of almost like a bit of a checklist of things. So maybe that I can continue doing that, and I think the doctor mentioned that if things don't work out, the private psychiatrist, maybe she's willing to refer me through the NHS, so that could be something. But it all seems quite stressful, really. So I'm hoping maybe, even though there's a cost to it, and I'm sort of using my savings, what savings I have, which is stressful because it's kind of a bit of I don't have a huge amount, but it's a bit of a security blanket to know if my phone breaks or I need to replace a laptop or something, then it's nice to know that, okay, I can use that for that. But it's gone to a point of desperation where I think in the past I didn't want to spend loads of money with a private psychiatrist, but things have gotten so difficult that it doesn't feel like so much of a choice, in a sense. So I feel like I'm recovering from a difficult week of sort of waiting for the doctor's appointment and all of that whole saga of stuff that some of that I mentioned in the last post. Maybe I don't know if that's partly why I'm feeling extremely exhausted, where there's been lots of sleepless nights during that past week. And I'd like to talk about today as well. Just after my counselling session, I managed to get myself to a cafe to do some the initial plan is to do some writing, or all that plan I mentioned before, the writing, poker and reading, and it really didn't work out well at all. I just, first of all, it was really busy. I actually first went to the library and it was really packed. It's not a huge library, it's like a row of desks and a few desk places, but it was all sort of taken up, and I realised with January, I think it's exam season for college and university, so I think all of the students are kind of crammed into libraries at the moment. So I was kind of halfway up the stairs and I was looking, I could see around the balcony of tables, and I could see it's just really busy, and I think there's one bigger table, and it didn't feel like there was enough time for me to stand there and assess if it was a safe place for me to sit, am I going to be disturbing that person, and to go through all of the sort of decision-making stuff. And I just ended up turning around and just walking out. It just felt less stressful to do that. And I haven't been to a cafe in the morning for a while. I guess it's just before lunchtime, but it was super busy, and it's like the headphones helped a lot. I had my headphones on and some loud music, but my brain was just it was really fuzzy, and I ended up just trying to write and not able to, and it was feeling quite sad and frustrated because I was trying to do something meaningful and fulfilling, an activity, and the last several days I've just watched some films and movies. I think that's what I mentioned last time as well. So yesterday I continued watching a few movies and feeling exhausted. That's all I was able to do, and in the cafe it was just a bit of a sad sight of myself really just not being able to do that, to continue with the writing. Just feeling really exhausted and mentally really foggy. So I ended up doing a bit of journaling there about my feelings about this, and how I think I'm trying to find purpose, some sort of purpose in my life, dealing with what I'm dealing with. It's kind of a purpose or meaning activity, and I think the things that with the writing and the podcast and some of the other content creation I do, like I've got a channel that I don't currently do it really, but review sort of TV shows and movies. All of that requires some mental effort, and I don't seem to have that available to me. So there's this urge to want to do something meaningful and purposeful, but I'm not able to execute or do it. So kind of in this sort of limbo of doing nothing, trying to take care of myself. And I know it's probably quite black and white, and I'm probably not maybe I'm not being fully fair on myself with how my health is affecting me, where it's limiting me in lots of ways, and it makes trying to find like a stimulating activity or something I'm able to do challenging. So I'm in this place of wanting perhaps some purposeful activity, some stimulation, mental stimulation, but also struggling quite severely with anything that with the mechanics needed to do that. So I kind of ended up usually, especially for this last week, just doing my best to get by. Like even watching this series, I'm kind of like slumped in my chair, really, just almost just seeing a day pass by me, and to evening time, and then I'm thinking, okay, ready to sleep. So it's kind of almost like I'm in a facility in some ways, but without the safety of one. Some kind of just, there's the bedrock of the day, of the morning, waking up. Okay, let's wake up. I'm still trying. There's still some awareness of sleep times, of sleep hygiene. So I try and get to sleep at 10:30, and I try and wake up at 8:30 in the morning. So those are kind of like, the bookends of my day, and so I'm always kind of working towards one or the other. So so as it gets towards evening, I'm always sort of zooming into, okay, I need to make sure I try and get to bed at 10:30, and it's a whole process sometimes to get myself to bed. But yeah, it just feels like life's kind of passing me by, and doesn't feel like there's too much I can do about it. One thing I did journal about is, okay, I said to myself, okay, there's perhaps one meaningful thing I can do is to try and be more present, which has its own challenges as well, but it feels like the only doable thing that may bring some fulfillment, just to try and be more present. But the challenge with that is because of the sort of mental pain and noise, I guess, or thoughts or everything else. It really impedes the time, the opportunity to try and be present. So they don't kind of, one really affects the other. So that's I'm going to still keep that as some sort of intention, because I've got nothing else to hold on to, really. I've got nothing else that feels like at this current moment. Everything's just becoming really difficult. Even playing poker is just, when I'm kind of half asleep, it's hard to engage in that game and figure out strategy and things like that. And it's again using the mental, what's fulfilling is using mental capacity to kind of engage and win and use skill. And when I'm kind of half asleep playing, just sort of half playing, half watching ASMR or something, and not being able to fully engage, it's not really that fun. You lose interest. A couple of things, I'll be struggling a lot with cooking and cleaning, and I've had to ask a family member for their help to help me with that. And I'm still sort of coming to terms with the fact that I'm no longer like reliable to cook healthy meals for myself, and able to do so. And the same with cleaning, how do you phrase it, maintaining my living space. So, and that's kind of, it's weird, 'cause it's a psychological sort of blow or impact, sort of trying to accept that, and it kind of almost makes me feel more ill. I think I may have said this in a previous vlog, actually, but it's okay if I'm repeating myself. But it's it's sort of a psychological downward spiral. Even though I'm trying to get help, and with that stuff, it just makes me more unwell, knowing I can't do it. Kind of, what I wrote in the journal, it was witnessing my own demise. It's kind of, it sounds depressing, but it's kind of what it was like, really, like with this cooking and cleaning now. So okay, I've got to get help with that, and it's a whole sort of strain dealing with that, and that whole process of circumstances of not being able to do that independently as well as I used to. And I think it's painful as well, because even there's lots of unwellness, but there's still parts of me being aware. So it's enough awareness to watch and understand how much of the unwellness is affecting me, and that gradient, the continual gradient that I'm still going down. Like right now, it feels like the worst. The last few months, each time it's been the worst of my health that's been there. Like it hasn't suddenly gotten better for several weeks. I may have a good morning or a good few hours, maybe at most, but it's still kind of going down this gradient. Like right now, it's the worst my health has ever been mentally, in a decline. So maybe to focus on the positives is, I feel like I'm a bit more on a trail of getting some help, perhaps with this psychiatrist, and it's a bit more open communication with my doctor, and the doctor is going to help a little bit with food stuff as well. I think there's an organisation. It's hard to process because I don't know the details of it and I don't know how it's going to work out, but maybe there's a lead, like generating a lead of a help for that process. I did mention cleaning as well, because the doctor didn't say anything about that, and I asked, I said, maybe that organisation will know about cleaning stuff, but maybe I can. I've got another appointment in a couple of weeks, so maybe I can potentially ask about that. Ask if the doctor, if they know any services or anything related to that, like domestic sort of help. Because I know there's like support workers and stuff, but I've no idea how to access that. I did do a little bit of research on some of the mental health charities here, and I think they have. Maybe I can try and contact them, get some help from a family member to write some messages to them to see, okay, if they can signpost me to an organisation, or because sometimes it's often hard to know what help is out there and available. So maybe that's a good place to start with those sort of charities that are probably plugged in to different organisations for different types of help. That could be it. So that's a rough sort of. I can't remember when I last vlogged. Really, I think it's probably before my doctor's appointment on Tuesday. So it's Friday. So it's been sort of almost a week or several days since I've recorded. So I think the plan for the rest of today is usual, I guess, trying to sort out food for tonight. I did make a stir fry last night, but it kind of affected my tummy, so I'm not sure why. And I'm wondering if I didn't cook the actual stir fry itself long enough, because I added in the noodles quite quickly after. I tried to cook it all at once, but sometimes that affects the cooking of other ingredients. So I'm wondering if that's it. And I don't think I'm going to eat the second portion just as a safety measure. And it's strange, I don't really feel like cooking tonight at all. It's another thing that's really food is just difficult right now for me. I feel really physically tired as well as mentally tired, so I don't know what I'm going to do tonight for food. I do have I've got some marinated tofu that probably needs using up, and maybe I can make that with some pasta, but I just doesn't seem that appetizing, really. So yeah, I'll probably doesn't feel like I don't know what else to do but just watch movies or stuff just to kind of get through the day at the moment. Maybe that's okay, I don't know. At least for the time being as well, because it's so easy to look at this in black and white, in my head it's like, okay, this is what life's going to be now, me watching movies constantly, but I need to just understand, I need to kind of take care of myself now, and maybe that's the only way how to cope with getting through the day. So that's the probably plan, is just to figure out food. I haven't eaten that well today at all. I didn't have breakfast this morning before my counselling session, so I had to get to the park, and then there was the idea of kind of going out to write, because I'd been indoors for several days, so it kind of didn't work out for food either. I ended up getting these sort of veggie sausage rolls in the bakery that really didn't feel good eating, really, and it wasn't, I can tell it just wasn't nutritious and what my body needed, especially for energy as well, if I'm really struggling. but it was the only thing that was sort of convenient and available. Usually I get sandwiches quite a lot, but because I've stopped eating egg for the time being, I've just lost my appetite for that, and there's not many other options available really, sandwich-wise, that I can have. So yeah, today's been difficult. Maybe it's okay. Today's been difficult. And maybe I'll just try not to be hard on myself. I'm sort of spending a lot of time inside, not that I want to. I know it's not healthy, but even though I've been out for a lot of today, it's hard to give myself credit for that, because I just didn't feel like I really achieved anything. I did a little bit of walking, or a good amount of walking, and so I think the afternoon is just sort of getting through the afternoon, evening, watching I've downloaded some movies and some series on Netflix, so that's good. I can try and choose from that and watch that, and then the last thing tonight, just to get to bed at a good time. I think it's really important, which is the last few nights I've managed to do that. Even 10 or 15 minutes past my bedtime of 10:30, that's still fine. It's still okay. Not sure what else I wanted to say really. I guess I feel really tired, so it's hard to go into anything in any sort of depth, or hard to want to be expressive, I guess. But maybe it's good just to record this and check in. Tomorrow is Saturday, so we'll see what the weekend brings. It's always a different energy, weekend energy. So maybe that's a different change. So sometimes I can feel the energy shift of a weekend, so it's nice that's coming up, I guess. Yeah.